This cake right here was my favourite as a child. It's a Battenberg, and today I'm going to show you how to make it. Begin by placing 200 grams of soft unsalted butter into the bowl of a stand mixer, or just into a mixing bowl, and you can use an electric hand whisk for this. You can also do it by hand, but it takes a lot longer. Next, add in 200 grams of caster sugar, then mix them together using the beater attachment until the mixture looks light and fluffy. This can take anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. Next, crack in 4 eggs and add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla bean paste or vanilla extract. Continue mixing until everything is well combined. Your mixture may look a little bit split at this stage, but don't worry about it too much because it'll all come together when we add the flour. Gradually sift in the flour and gently fold it in using a spatula until you have a cake mixture that looks something like this. Next, divide the mixture into 2 halves. If you want to be really accurate, you can weigh the full batch and then make a note of that weight and put half of it back into a separate mixing bowl. Then into 1 half, add a splash of red food colouring until it reaches your desired colour. We're aiming for a nice shade of pink with this. Grease and line 2 loaf tins with parchment paper and place the plain mixture into one and the pink mixture into the other, and then spread it out using a spatula. Place both cakes into a preheated oven at 150 degrees Celsius fan and cook them for 35 to 40 minutes or until a knife or skewer comes out clean. Place your cakes onto a wire rack to cool. Now take one of the cakes and slice it lengthways right down the middle. And then you want to trim off the edges to create a nice even long rectangle shape. And then once you've got one, you can use that as the guideline to get your measurements for the other. If you want to be really specific with this, you can use a ruler, but I find it easier to cut one and then use that as my guide for the rest of them. Keep trimming them down until they are all exactly the same size. Don't throw the excess cake away. You can either eat it as it is, or you can place it into a freezer bag and into the freezer and use it for a future recipe. It'll work perfectly for a good trifle. Now that your cake pieces are all cut and equally sized, I've got 170 grams of apricot jam and I'm just going to warm that through over the heat. Once it's warmed through, remove it from the heat and then pass it through a sieve. Next, take 1 pack of ready-made marzipan and then dust your surface lightly with some icing sugar and then roll it out until it's about 2 millimeters thick. Keep referring back to your cake pieces to make sure you've rolled it out enough to cover the full thing. Next, brush the marzipan with the warm apricot jam, and then you can start assembling the cake in the centre of the marzipan. After you lay each piece of cake down, brush it on all sides with apricot jam, and then just keep adding the cake until you've got a checkerboard pattern all held together with the apricot jam. Next, you can fold up the sides of the marzipan until the cake is completely covered. Leave it overlapping slightly on the edge that joins and then cut off the excess using a knife. I'm also using a fork just to nip down the edges along the marzipan where they join each other. Trim off the ends so it's nice and neat, and they're the bits that you get to try before everybody else. So that's how I make this absolutely delicious Battenberg cake. It was my childhood favourite, and don't forget to let me know what your childhood favourite cake was in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.